Greetings, pilgrims, and welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage. And today we're going to continue our series here, and we are going to be working on our multi-rocket here. And what we're going to be doing today is actually doing the code to make the multi-rocket work. So once again, let's take a look at it here. So if I choose the rocket, you can see that in our inspector over here, we have a couple of things. We have a whole bunch of these where we've lined up our variable parts. And I'm working on a way to sort of collapse this, maybe make it read from a folder structure to make this a bit cleaner. But for now, it works, and we're going to go with this. But what we have here are 4 different drop-downs: cone type, body type, small fins, and rear fins. And you can see as I change these, one thing is that it actually changes, and I can change out the various designs and styles of things here. The other thing you'll notice is I'm in editor mode, I'm not in play mode. And it's working. So we're going to get into that as well. Alright, so to start with, let's go ahead and grab our rockets. And here's our rocket, so I'm going to bring it in here. This is how it comes into the editor. This is a rocket pack all by itself, so I'll move it over here. So this is, as you can see, every single possible combination all on top of itself. We're getting a little bit of flickering here as we move around, and you can see there's a multitude of rear fins here. That's because it's all possible combinations all at once. Now in code, what we're going to do is we're actually going to tell it, hey, you're going to have a default and you're going to hide everything else, okay? So first things we have to do is open it up, and we do have one object in here that's kind of weird. It got in there by itself. I don't really know what it is, so we're just going to delete that and say continue, because we do want to break the prefab for now. And now we have all these other parts. I'm going to take all these other parts and I'm going to drag them out of that object here, and I'm going to delete that object. So now you can see we just have all the individual parts. Body A, see, body, all these different pieces here, body C, the different fins. They're all separate, but they're all kind of overlapped in the same point in space. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want for right now. Okay, so what we have here, let's go back and look here. We have one object actually which has a whole bunch of things underneath of it, and you'll notice this does contain all the others. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to take all of these, and I'm just going to, on the X only, I'm going to 0 their position. So now they're centered to the world. It's be a lot easier. So let's make a new game object. Say empty. I'm going to 0 it to the world. 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to call this multi-rocket, just so we name it something different from this guy. Now under multi-rocket here, I'm going to drag all of these. Drag and drop. Now make them children of that. Okay, so now we can move it all as one group, and it doesn't matter where we move it now. And you can see that it's very similar to our rocket up here, which means we're on the right track. Okay, but now we need to write the code to make this work, because right now it's all overlapping, it's all kind of weird. One thing we should do is let's apply our material so that we can see it properly. So I'm going to drag this over and keep dragging, keep dragging. There's multiple things on top of itself, so I have to drag to every single different part, so it might take a moment. But we can also continue with the material assignment once the code is functional, because that will allow us to kind of hide individual parts. Okay, we're almost there. That looks pretty good. Alright, so let's jump into the code to make this work. So as you can see again in our example here, the code is on this base project, so I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to just scroll down here, right click, say create new C# script, and we'll call this multi-rocket. There we go. And now I'm going to select our multi-rocket and just click and drag to assign that script. So now as soon as we're done with the script, the changes will just appear here. Okay? So let's go ahead and save just to be sure. Alright. And now double click multi-rocket to launch that script and mono-develop. And we're going to start coding. Here it comes up. Okay, so first things first, what we need to do is establish our setup here. I work this way. I know there's 2 kinds of programmers in the world. I'm this kind. There we go. Now, essentially what we're going to be doing is creating some drop downs and then setting up a couple of switch statements in order to switch between our various prefab pieces. So one thing we can do is at the top here, right here, I'm going to add an extra space. I'm going to add a command which will allow this code to work in the editor. So we just do like this, execute in edit mode, okay? And then close it with a bracket. Now that means this code will be allowed to run in edit mode, and it can still run at runtime, but it will allow us to run it in edit mode. Perfect. That way we can test it. All right, so at the top, before we start the code officially, we're going to add a whole bunch of our prefab, a bunch of our public commands, rather, pardon me, for our prefabs. We're going to add all of those here. So the way that the drop downs work is actually something called an enum. So I'm going to do a public because we want to access it from everywhere. Enum, okay? See, enum keyword used to declare an enumeration. So enumeration is like a drop down list, okay? And I'm going to call this one cones. And now the way these are structured is you do like this, and then we're going to put all our stuff in the middle, but it's a little strange. So follow along here. Default, that's the first type of cone, comma, enter new line. Stubbed, comma, new line, warhead. And then you just leave it there like that. So that shows us that there are 3 possibilities in that list, okay? So let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's build all. It's giving me an error on something else. Don't worry about that. Okay, so let's minimize this. And we'll click in here to refresh everything. I'll click multi-rocket. Come on, there he is. And nothing so far, okay? Because we've defined it, but we haven't really kind of built it yet. All right, so let's go back to monodevelop and let's continue. So that's 1. And what I'm going to do is just copy this guy because we have a lot of other ones to create. So let's do this one, public enum. This one's going to be called body type. There we are. And we're going to have body underscore A. I'm going to copy body underscore. Nope. I'm going to copy body underscore. And paste it so that I can just type B, paste it, and type C. There we go. A, B, and C. Now I can copy this. There we go. And then we have small fins, and spelling and capitalization where we have it there is important. So I'm going to call this small fins, whoops, not fines, fins, underscore. There we go. So it's underscore fins underscore A. Okay, copy, paste, B, and I'm going to remove that and this because we only have 2 options for that one. Okay, we're getting there. Now I'm going to copy this and do rear fins. So this, trying to select just that part. Rear fins A, and I'm going to copy that. Paste rear fins B, and paste rear fins C. There we go. Okay, so now we've started to define the fact that we're going to have 4 different drop downs, and here's what they're going to be called, and here are their drop down options basically. Okay, now we need some more, so let me continue our example here. There we go. Alright, so we got a whole bunch more to do, lots more public things to create. Now we're going to create the continuation of those enumerations. So I'm going to create a new enumerate part of cones, and I'm going to call this cone type. This is going to be our variable to determine which of the enumeration of cones is our current drop down. So cone type will equal essentially default, stubbed, or warhead. So this is a cone type variable of the class of enum. So you can say which enum of cones are we using. We're going to store that here. Okay, so we have that one. Now we're going to do public body type. And you will start to see a pattern here. Body type. Oh, I've got my thing is protecting me there. Body type, TYPE. There we go. And we're going to continue here and just create a whole bunch of these. So just follow along for a moment. Small fins of small fins. And you'll notice that my beginning type variable has a capital, but then my actual variable that we're going to be using is a lowercase. And this is a naming convention to allow you to quickly look at a type of code in the list and see which one it is. So I know that if it's a lowercase, then this is actually the variable that I'm going to be working with. So that's pretty simple, okay? Now, what we need to do is create a way for us to connect all of our parts in the list. And the way we do that is we're going to create more public variables, lots of publics this time around, of type game object. And I'm going to call it something, so cone A. And this is where you're going to attach cone A. It's pretty simple. So I'm just going to copy this, all of it, including the, and I'm going to do cone A, B, C. So let's do that. So let's do B and C. All right. And now copy one of those, paste. I'm going to call this body A. So what we could actually do is I'll just copy these, paste them here, make some room, and just call this body and body, like that. A, B, and C for the body types. And now we have 2 for the fins coming up next. So let's copy those, paste those here, call this small fins A. And actually I'll select everything except the A. So then if I just paste it here, we can reuse that B. There we go. All right, looks good. And now I'll copy from here, just because it's easier. And all I need to do is replace the word cone here with rear fins. So I'll copy that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so lots of variables, I know, but it's important. So let's go ahead and close that up a bit. Now in the start, what we want to do is we want to set our defaults. So I'm going to say cone type is equal to cones.default. Okay? So I'm saying that the cone dropdown is going to be equal to, go up to cones and get the default one. And that's the one we're going to use. And we're going to continue in similar fashion here. Body type equals body type dot body A. There we go. And then small fins equals small fins dot small fins A. And then rear fins equals rear fins dot rear fins A. There we go. So what this is saying is when you start the code, go through each of these and set them to the following parameters. Set your cone to default, your body type to A, small fin to A, and rear fin to A. So just our kind of standard setup. And then from there, once per frame, we're going to check to see if there's been a change. Okay? So now let's get into how we check for the change. All right, so what I'm going to do here, in the interest of time, I'm going to actually copy, once I explain the first one, copy from my other example. All right, so first we're going to create a switch statement, switch. And I'm going to say cone type. So we're looking at the cone type variable here. And I'm going to give myself some room to work. There we go. All right, so we're getting to the bottom of the screen here. So now a switch statement works off of cases. Think of a case like, in case it rains, bring an umbrella. Okay, so a case is sort of like a conditional, well it is, a conditional thing. So I'm going to say case cones.default, and then I put one of these, the colon by itself, and I like to, that's fine. Okay, and on the next line, I'm going to say, what do we want to do in case the cone is default? Well, for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a debug.log, and we're going to say default cone. Okay, so that's all we're going to do right now. Then what we have to do is we say, okay, we're all done checking for this. We're going to do a break at the end. You just have to do a break before you can go on to the next case. Okay? So we're going to do a case for each of these, and then we'll check to make sure that it works. Okay? So I'm going to copy this, paste it here. So that's case for the stubbed and a case for the warhead. Okay? So let's do cones.stubbed. There we go. I'm going to say stubbed cone. Cone.warhead. Want a really explosive one. We're going to say warhead. Okay. So that's all for now. So let's go ahead and save that and check it out. Should be fine. One error again from something else I have installed. Alright, let's click once, let it update. I can see it's updated in the corner. You might not be able to see it. Oh, there, you can see it. Alright, so let's click on our multi-rocket. We got some more things going on. It expanded. So you notice all of these say none game object, none game object. What these are is, these are slots that we can drag and drop. So we say body A. I'm going to drag and drop that to body A. There we go. Now they're connected. So we can go ahead and connect all of these. Body A, B, and C. Let's go ahead and do that. And then the cones are actually alphabetically lower, but programmatically I put them higher. Because, you know, that's the way we think of first the cone, and we work our way down the object. Cone C goes there. Small fins, again, alphabetically are lower, so keep that in mind. There we go. And then the rear fins. So we'll connect all those up. Rear fins, and rear fins. There we go. So now they're all connected, and you see we have our drop downs now. Cone, body, small fins, rear fins. Now we can see this work if I clear all of this, and if I choose a default drop down, I choose a stubbed, you'll see here now it comes up. Stubbed, default, body A, small fins A, rear fins A. It's telling me what is in the drop downs. So if I change this to warhead, you'll see now at the bottom here, all of these say 2 because they happened again, but the new thing that happened is the warhead cone was chosen. So our logic is sound and it's working. Okay, that's always good to know. And you'll notice that it works in the editor. But now currently, this is working, and you see I've chosen these things. I've chosen warhead again. And you see that warhead is chosen again. But nothing's changing here yet in the model, because all we're doing is programmatically proving that we can actually reach in here and make changes to this drop down. Now the next thing we're going to do is actually make changes to the model based upon the drop down. So let's jump back into the code. Pardon me. And we're going to fill out these cases here. Instead of just doing the debug.log, let's actually do some actual code. So I'm going to copy from over here, just in the interest of time. So here we go. I'm going to paste in here. So what we've got here is now, in case the cone is default, what we're going to do is we're going to say the default cone, cone A, gets to be rendered. So cone A, get component, renderer, just like this, the brackets, dot enabled, meaning we're going to choose whether or not it's enabled. True, it's enabled. So cone A, which is the default, if cone A is selected, truly enable its rendering property, allow it to be seen. And for cone B and cone C, false, do not let the rendering component be enabled. Okay? So basically it's a simple flipperoo here. If you select A, I want you to show me A, and I want you to hide B and C. That's all we're doing. So let's go ahead and build this just to see it work. Again, that arrows or something else, don't worry. Now click once in here, let it update. Update. There we go. So now if I select my multi-rocket, and if I select A, you'll notice the cones are starting to change. If I select warhead, if I select, maybe it's not working, body A, stubbed, am I just seeing it on top of it? Cone A, cone B, cone C, it should be working. Well, let's work through it together, okay? Let's go back to the code, and this is all working. Cone A, break. All it's doing for the others is breaking. Well, let's fill out the rest of it and see what happens, okay? So in case it's a cone stubbed, what we want to do is we want to do this. So again, so cone B is true, and cone A and C are false, okay? And there we go. Let's fill out the rest of the cones before we test it and make sure that it's working or not. There we go. Okay. So now all the cone types are good. Switch cone type is correct. All of that is correct. There we go. All right. So we may have been a little premature. That's okay. Let's go back to our code here. It's thinking. All right. Let's test it out now. default is chosen, there we go, stubbed is chosen, and warhead is chosen. So they were just a little premature in trying to assign the code and test it. We needed to have the other possibilities figured out first. Okay? Excellent. So let's go back to our code here. We have a couple more things to do, but I'm just going to copy and paste them in here for you guys. So we're just going to do a few more switch statements here. So the next switch statement, now that we've done this one ends here. The next switch statement is for the body type. Very similar thing here. Case body type dot body A. If you've chosen body type A, do this. Body type B, C, do this. It's very similar there. So I'll just select the rest of it here for the small fins and the rear fins. We'll jump ahead. There we go. So we have small fins right here. There's only two possibilities there, so it's either true or false, true or false. And this one, a little confusing here the way I did it. I did A and then B, and then here I did B and then A, just to kind of, so it looks funny because it's true, false, true, false. Then we have A, B, and C for the rear fins, and we should be all set. And that's the end of the code there, so that should be it. So let's go ahead and build the whole project. Yep, no errors on our code. So when I click here, should be good, it's loading, and you'll notice right away, that the rocket, all the other variants went away, because now all the switch statements are working. So now we can freely switch between all different types, and there we go. A, B, and C is working. We cannot choose too many combinations. We can't have, all the fins in the back here, because we can only choose one of the types. So there you go. You just programmed your very own. I've called this a variable prefab, because it allows you to have drop downs and then choose which types are used. And this is not the most elegant code to make this work. It's kind of a little sloppy in the sense that it's just setting things true or false, but you know what, it works and it's awesome. And you can even change this to call it at runtime. And what I've done, I took it one step further, is in the prefabs folder here, I have a prefab for this. So now I can bring the prefab into the world and make changes to it. So I can say, fire this rocket. Now, bring another prefab into the world. Here he is. And he has his own instantiation of everything. So I can say, make this a warhead with a ton of fins, with body type of B. And there we go. There's a whole separate prefab which can be programmatically called all of these drop downs and just change them out. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed very much so. I know it was a bit of a longer episode. I thank you for sticking with me. It's been a lot of fun, and this was an awesome project. So I really hope you guys get a big kick out of it. I will be posting the final project files here onto the website, so make sure to check it out. If you have any questions at all with the code, any problems, let me know. As always, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.